You are noticing it now, aren't you? The silence isn't screaming at you anymore. The empty chair across from you doesn't feel like a wound. The phone that hasn't buzzed in 3 days doesn't feel like a rejection. For the first time in your entire life, the void has stopped feeling like a predator and has started feeling like a sanctuary. You are becoming comfortable with space. And this right here is the most dangerous version of you the world has ever seen. I know exactly where you are sitting as you hear these words. You are in that quiet pocket of your home, or perhaps staring out a window, feeling a strange, heavy peace that you can't quite explain to anyone else. You've spent years, decades, running from this very feeling. You used to call it loneliness. You used to call it being forgotten. You used to panic when the social calendar went dry, or when the people you thought were your forever tribe suddenly drifted away like mist. You would reach out. You would over-explain. You would apologize for things you didn't do just to keep the space from growing. But something shifted in the last few weeks. A switch flipped in your spirit. The frantic urge to check in on people has died. The desperation to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you has evaporated. You are looking at the gaps in your life, the lost friendships, the ended relationships, the quiet weekends, and instead of seeing a lack, you are seeing a landing strip. You are realizing that the space isn't empty, it's clean. Do you feel that subtle weight in your chest? That's not anxiety. That is your frequency finally stabilizing, because it's no longer being jerked around by the chaotic vibrations of people who don't belong in your future. You've been feeling the physical symptoms of this transition. The sudden bouts of fatigue where your body demands you sit in a dark room and just be. The way loud environments now feel like a physical assault on your nervous system. The way your eyes find it hard to focus on the trivial noise of social media or the gossip of the workplace. Your soul is pulling you inward. And for the first time, you aren't fighting the pull. You've noticed that your appetite for junk has disappeared, not just junk food, but junk conversation, junk entertainment, and junk connections. You would rather sit in a room with a candle and your own thoughts for 5 hours than spend 5 minutes pretending to enjoy a conversation that has no depth. This is the cold reality of the chosen one. The higher you go, the thinner the air becomes. You are learning to breathe in an altitude where most people would suffocate. You used to think something was wrong with you because you didn't fit. You blamed your personality, your trauma, or your weirdness. But look at you now. You aren't lonely, you are insulated. You aren't isolated, you are being incubated. The universe has cleared the floor so it can finally show you the blueprints for your next era without the peanut gallery whispering doubts in your ear. You are becoming comfortable with the space because you are finally becoming comfortable with you. The silence is no longer a mirror reflecting your insecurities. It is a shield protecting your sovereignty. You are starting to realize that if the price of admission to a circle is your peace, the price is too high. If the cost of being included is the fragmentation of your soul, you would rather stand alone in the light. Stay in this. Don't rush to fill the gap. Don't text that person back just because the silence gets too loud. That loudness is just the sound of your old ego dying. Let it die. Let the space be. You are being prepared for a visitation that requires total stillness. You are being prepared for a power that cannot be shared with the uninitiated. Why is this happening to you now? Why has the universe suddenly turned down the volume on your social life and turned up the frequency of your solitude? It isn't a mistake, and it isn't a punishment. You are undergoing a divine recalibration. You must understand that your energy field is like a high-precision instrument. For years, you allowed that instrument to be played by anyone who walked by: narcissists, energy vampires, unhealed family members, and friends who only loved the version of you that served them. Your strings were out of tune because they were vibrating at the frequency of everyone else's chaos. The space you are feeling is the universe stepping in as a master conductor and saying, "Enough." The spiritual cause of this sudden isolation is a mandatory quarantine of the soul. You have reached a level of spiritual maturity where your light is now a target frequency. If you were to remain in those old circles, your growth would be stunted by the sheer weight of their projections. You are becoming comfortable with space because your spirit knows that in the crowd, you are forced to dilute your power just to make others feel comfortable. You are shrinking yourself to fit into rooms that were never designed for a giant. This space is the void of creation. Think of it as the womb. A womb is dark. It is quiet. And it is solitary, but it is the only place where life can actually form. If a seed is constantly dug up to be checked on by others, it will never take root. You are currently underground. You are in the soil phase. People think you've disappeared. People think you've changed or become cold. No, you are simply protecting the germination of your new authority. You broke a silent contract with the Matrix. The contract said, "I will trade my peace for your company." You tore that contract up the moment you stopped fearing the silence. When a chosen one stops fearing being alone, the Matrix loses its primary leash over them. Most people are driven by the terror of being excluded, which is why they follow trends, stay in toxic jobs, and marry people they don't love. But you have looked the ghost of loneliness in the eye and realized it was just a shadow. The spiritual physics of this are absolute. You cannot receive the new while your hands are still gripping the old. The universe had to pry your fingers off those old attachments. It had to make those people act out, make them betray you, or make... This space is the prerequisite for the inheritance that is coming. You are being cleared out so you can be filled up. You felt the internal shift, a strange, buzzing sensation in your crown, or a heat in your solar plexus when you are alone. That is your DNA upgrading. This process requires an immense amount of quiet energy. If you are constantly processing the drama of a friend's breakup or the passive-aggressive comments of a co-worker, your system doesn't have the bandwidth to complete the upgrade. The space is literally the download time. You are being pulled into the secret place of the Most High because there are instructions for your life that cannot be broadcast over a public frequency. You are being taught sovereign vibration. This is the ability to hold your peace regardless of who is or isn't in the room. Most people's peace is conditional. It depends on being liked, being seen, or being validated. The universe is stripping those crutches away so you can learn to generate your own light from within. You are becoming a sun instead of a moon. A moon only reflects the light of others. A sun creates its own. Let the space be. It is the buffer zone between who you were and who you are becoming. It is the great filter. Only those who can match the frequency of your new silence will be allowed to re-enter your life later. Everyone else is being filtered out by the divine law of resonance. You aren't losing people. You are losing noise. You aren't losing love. You are losing attachments. This is the liberation you prayed for, even if it feels heavier than you expected. While you are sitting in this sacred silence, do not think for a second that the world hasn't noticed. The Matrix, the system of control, the narcissists you've detached from, the friends who used you as an emotional dumping ground, they are sensing your shift, and they are terrified. You must understand the spiritual mechanics of their reaction. To the unhealed and the parasitic, your space feels like a personal attack. When a chosen one becomes comfortable with being alone, they become unmanipulatable, And nothing scares a predator more than prey that has suddenly stopped running and stepped into the fog where it can no longer be tracked. Have you noticed the check-in attempts? That random, low-effort text from an ex-partner or a toxic family member that simply says, "Thinking of you," or "Are you okay? You've been so quiet." Do not be deceived. This isn't a concern, it is a pulse check. They are trying to see if the old you is still reachable. They are fishing to see if they can still provoke an emotional reaction out of you to feed their own depleting energy. When you were frantic and desperate for their approval, you were a reliable battery for them. Now that you've embraced the space, you've cut off the power supply. The narcissists in your life are currently experiencing a form of withdrawal. They are confused. They expected you to crumble when they withdrew their attention. They expected you to come crawling back, apologizing for setting boundaries. But instead, you took the silence they gave you as a gift. You took the cold shoulder and used it as a quiet room to heal. This subverts the entire script of the Matrix. By becoming comfortable with space, you have reclaimed your attention currency. You are no longer spending your thoughts on them. And that lack of mental rent is causing their influence in your life to go bankrupt. They are likely whispering about you right now. They've changed. They're acting superior. They've lost their mind. Let them whisper. Their gossip is a sign of their displacement. You have moved into a frequency where they can no longer perceive your true motives. To a person who lives for external validation, your comfort with solitude looks like madness. To a person who survives drama, your peace looks like a threat. They are reacting with hostility or feigned worry, because your stillness is a mirror that reflects their own inner vacuum. They cannot stand to be alone with themselves, so they cannot understand how you can be so content being alone with yourself. You have gained the high ground. In any spiritual or psychological warfare, the one who needs the other person less has the power. By letting the space be, you have won the war without firing a single shot. You are watching them scramble to find a new supply, a new victim, or a new way to bait you, while you are simply breathing. You are watching the puppets dance while you've already cut the strings. The Matrix is trying to re-index you. It's trying to find a hook, a guilt trip, a fabricated emergency, a memory from the past to pull you back into the noise. But the space you've cultivated has created a buffer zone. Their arrows are falling short. Their words are losing their sting. You are realizing that their power was always an illusion, maintained by your own participation. Now that you've stepped back into the silence, you can see the wires. You can see the smallness of the giants who used to intimidate you. They are scared of you because a chosen one who is comfortable in the void is a chosen one who is ready for command. You are no longer reacting. You are observing. You are no longer a player in their low vibrational games. You are the architect of your own reality. The enemy knows that once you realize you don't need them to feel whole, they have no way to stop you from becoming what you were sent here to be. They are watching you go into the dark room of your soul. And they know that when you come out, you will be carrying a light that will expose everything they've tried to hide. What is the true metaphysical architecture of this silence? Why does the universe demand such a sterile environment for your next evolution? You must understand the law of divine displacement. In the realm of the spirit, two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. If your life is crowded with the static of the world, there is no room for the frequency of the Creator. This space you are becoming comfortable with is not a gap, it is a holy invitation. It is the holy of holies within your own being, a place where no one else's permission is required and no one else's opinion can survive. God, the Source, the infinite intelligence, is a God of order, and order requires boundaries. For years, your boundaries were porous. You were a universal donor, bleeding your light into everyone else's darkness until you were pale and hollowed out. The prophecy for your life states that you are to be a pillar, not a bridge. A bridge is meant to be stepped on to get people from one place to another. A pillar stands tall, unmoving, supporting the very weight of the temple. You cannot be a pillar if you are constantly shifting your shape to please the crowd. The great truth of this season is that you are being initiated into the priesthood of Melchizedek, the order of those who have no earthly lineage to lean on, those who are self-originated in their power. You are being taught that your validation comes from the vertical, not the horizontal. Most people live horizontally, seeking likes, seeking nods, seeking seats at the table, but the universe has flipped your orientation. You are now living vertically, drawing your power directly from the source. This is why the horizontal connections are snapping. They cannot withstand the voltage of a vertical connection. You are witnessing the fulfillment of the separation of the wheat and the chaff. This isn't just a biblical metaphor. It is a literal, energetic sorting. The chaff, the superficial, the deceptive, the low vibrational is being blown away by the wind of spirit. Why would you chase the chaff? Why would you run after the dust that the wind is trying to clear from your eyes? The universe is doing you a favor by making you unattractive to those who would only drain you. It is making you invisible to the predators so that you can be visible to the destiny helpers who are currently being prepared to meet you in the next clearing. There is a divine law called the vacuum law of prosperity. It dictates that the universe abhors a vacuum. When you courageously maintain a space, when you refuse to fill it with counterfeit company or distraction relationships, the universe is legally bound by spiritual physics to fill that space with something of equal or greater value. By becoming comfortable with the space, you are essentially telling the Creator, I trust you more than I fear being alone. I value my peace more than I value my popularity. This is the ultimate act of faith. You are being consecrated. To be consecrated means to be set apart for a sacred purpose. You cannot be set apart and integrated at the same time. You are in the waiting room of power. In this room, the only furniture is your integrity, and the only guest is the truth. You are learning the language of the silence, which is the only language God speaks fluently. When you master the silence, you master the ability to hear the still, small voice that provides the blueprints for your wealth, your health, and your true tribe. The space is the evidence of your promotion. You aren't being left behind. You are being sent ahead. You are the scout, the pioneer, the one who goes into the wilderness to find the path so that others can follow later. But for now, the path is narrow, so narrow that only one person can walk it at a time. Do not look back. Do not wonder why they aren't following. Their journey is theirs. Your space is your throne. Let it be. Now, as we reach the threshold of this transmission, it is time to ground this frequency into your physical reality. You cannot just listen to this truth. You must inhabit it. You must seal the exits. The next time the silence feels heavy, or the urge to reach out to a ghost from your past rises like a fever, I want you to take a deep breath and say to yourself, this space is my sanctuary, not my prison. I am not waiting, I am becoming. Your practical assignment from the divine is simple but absolute. Stop explaining your solitude. Stop apologizing for your disappearance. When people ask where you've been, you don't owe them a map of your soul. You are under divine construction, and the site is closed to the public. Practice the art of the sacred no. If an invitation doesn't make your spirit leap, let the space stay empty. If a conversation feels like dragging stones uphill, let the silence fall. The more you protect this clearing, the faster the new can arrive. Let us seal this energy now. Close your eyes if you can, or simply soften your gaze. Feel the perimeter of your own energy field. Visualize it as a shimmering, golden sphere of light that no low vibrational entity can penetrate. Divine Creator, I thank you for the gift of space. I thank you for the friendships that fell away, for the doors that slammed shut, and for the silence that forced me to look at my own reflection. I declare that I am no longer a slave to the fear of being alone. I recognize that this solitude is my initiation into true power. I reclaim every fragment of my energy that I left in the hands of narcissists, takers, and the ungrateful. I pull my frequency back from the matrix. I settle into this quietness with the confidence of a king, with the peace of a queen. I trust that the vacuum I am holding is being filled even now with divine wisdom, sovereign wealth, and a tribe of true resonance. I am comfortable in the void. I am stable in the shift. I am ready for the visitation. I seal this prayer in the frequency of truth. It is done, and so it is. Chosen one. You have graduated from the need for a crowd. You have realized that the most powerful person in the room is the one who doesn't need to be there. This space is your throne room. Sit in it. Own it. Let the world wonder. Let the enemies whisper. They are reacting to a version of you that no longer exists. If you felt this shift in your marrow today, if you know this space was carved out specifically for your greatness, then claim it. Type "I am comfortable with the space" in the comments to signal to the universe that you are no longer running. Subscribe to this frequency if you are ready to walk the narrow path to your highest timeline. Silence is your superpower. Use it.